And welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on a podcast in space and time. I'm Holden B. Huffman, and this is
No Coffee.
And today we are discussing Doctor Who Series 1, Episode 6, Dalek. So, Kendal, would you like to start us off today with discussing?
Yeah. So this is definitely one of my favorite episodes of this season. Maybe one of my favorite Doctor Who episodes ever. I'm not exactly sure where my ranking falls, but this would be pretty high up there.
Mm-hmm.
Just a really good, not necessarily like a self-contained episode, but definitely a very good like one-off, one-part episode that you could kind of watch it on its own and just really enjoy it as a story, I feel like.
Right.
And I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but I feel like there are certain Doctor Who episodes that are great Doctor Who episodes, and then there are certain episodes that are just great stories. And I don't know, I feel like this is one of those that's just a really great story.
Mm-hmm. Like it could work for anything, not just in Doctor Who context.
Right, yeah. I think there's like enough there that even if you weren't familiar with Doctor Who, but you kind of jumped in on this episode, you could still really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. It's a good jumping off point. Like if you're not sure about it and like you ask a friend, like what episode, like just give me some episodes that could really pull me into it. Like I don't want to start at the beginning. I don't want to make a commitment yet. Just give me some episodes that could potentially draw me in. This would definitely be on there.
Yeah, but it also, I mean, works so well within the context of like the season and just everything that the season has been sort of hinting at and building up to. This is such a great like culmination of all of those things.
Agreed.
This is when we first find out like the Doctor, kind of more of the extent of what the Doctor did in the Time War, and he reveals to the Dalek that he destroyed all the Daleks and he destroyed the Time Lords, and such an intense, dramatic moment of him basically saying like, I ended the Time War in the worst way possible, and the Dalek sort of comments, and the coward survived, and the Doctor looks at it and says, not by choice, and that's such a just intense moment that I feel like this whole season has kind of been building up to this moment. The Doctor, like all of his shame and his guilt and his fury all kind of coming together and really all being unleashed at once. And I think it gives me chills. It really does.
Yeah, no. And you said you had a lot of notes written down about this episode. And I said I have a little over a page of notes. The reason I don't have more, I would have had more, but I just got so sucked into it that I just kept forgetting to take notes.
Yeah.
Like, because it's good.
I can totally understand that. A lot of my notes, honestly, are just like really good lines.
Yeah, I have some really good lines, and also about just some of the emotions going on behind those lines and everything.
Yeah. I don't remember who the writer was, but I want to look
Russell
into
T.
it.
Davies. It wasn't Russell T. Davies.
It wasn't. It was a different writer. I definitely want to look and see what else that writer has written, because wow, they knocked it out of the park.
Oh, definitely. I'm actually checking right now. I want to know too.
Yeah, some of the lines I wrote down.
Robert Shearman.
Okay. Yeah, I meant to make a note of it when it popped up on the title screen.
He's done a lot of the audio dramas.
Okay, cool.
I'm checking about the rest. Doctor Who. No, this is it. This was the only episode he's written for Doctor Who.
Wow. He wrote one episode and it was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess, that's a good place to start and end. except for the audio dramas, of course. I keep meaning to kind of get into those, but I still haven't gotten around to it yet.
Right.
I definitely want to check out the ones he's written.
I think this is always written. This is going by Wikipedia, so who knows?
Yeah.
I'm checking his IMDb now. But you can continue talking while I look this up.
Okay. Yeah, I also really enjoy an episode with this kind of setup where you have this one like really powerful being that's kind of loose in some sort of secure facility, and the whole thing is about like making sure it doesn't get out. I feel like there's been several kind of stories along those lines, but it's something I definitely enjoy. It's like it's a trope I definitely enjoy seeing when it's done really well, and I think this is a good example of it.
Also, that was the only episode he wrote for Doctor Who.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a shame because I don't know. This is a very, very well written episode. I would love to see more of his stuff. But yeah, I'll have to check out his audio drama work.
There was a Cyberman helmet at the beginning of the episode.
There was. And we don't see Cyberman. Well, I guess that's a spoiler, but we don't see Cyberman this season.
Right.
But it was definitely a nice like
homage to the classic Who fans.
Right. And it was definitely the classic Cyberman helmet. I'm not exactly sure which era it was from, but you probably
I'm thinking back. I'm thinking this is from the Fifth Doctor era, because Cyberman really kind of disappeared after the Fifth Doctor. Like, they showed up a little bit, but not a whole lot after that.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't really show back up until New Who, which I'm not saying when for people who's not caught up. Which really, I don't understand why you're not caught up, but we just want to take precautions just in case.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like give away all the secrets if somebody's just like listening along as they check out Doctor Who. I mean,
right, exactly.
Yeah, so there was just a lot of really intense character stuff in this episode.
Except for Adam. We'll get into that later.
We'll talk about Adam later. I just have "I hate Adam" written in all caps for some reason. I don't know. That's weird.
Everyone hates Adam.
We'll find out why.
Yeah.
In time.
Yeah. Next time.
Yeah. I really liked the way the Dalek was portrayed. Especially like later in the episode after it kind of absorbs some of Rose's DNA and like integrates, human and Dalek and starts to really feel emotions that aren't just hatred.
Right. Now, I had a question about that. They said before that the last person who touched it burst into flames. Why didn't Rose burst into flames?
See, they made a very slight distinction with Rose. Because the Dalek commented that it had absorbed time traveler DNA.
That's what I thought. That I had that written down as well. As like, was it because she has traveled in space and time?
I think it was. She's been through the time vortex, and like that. I know that has some kind of effect on like people's physiology that the show gets into some later.
And psychology.
Yeah, there's definitely some effect on people that.
That's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure, but
yeah, I think that's what we were supposed to kind of get out of it. Although it was subtle. Let's see, but yeah, I really liked that. I loved, especially at the end when you had like Rose basically standing between the Dalek and the Doctor, like. Seeing the Dalek's humanity more than the Doctor really could. Because we see throughout the episode that it starts to change its ways. It doesn't kill Van Staten. It doesn't kill Rose. It really becomes you know.
And it doesn't even kill the doctor. Like right there
Yeah.
at the end, it could have had the perfect opportunity to kill the doctor, the Daleks' number one enemy.
Yeah, and the doctor was so hyper focused on, you know, this is a Dalek, this is an enemy of the Time Lords, it's an enemy of everyone, that he didn't see that this thing was changing, that it was becoming almost a person. And the line at the end, this is one of the lines I wrote down. The Dalek says to Rose, "Are you frightened, Rose Tyler?" And Rose is like, "Yeah." And the Dalek like pauses for a moment and says, "So am I." And I thought that's such a good line.
It is.
The delivery and because you know, with the Dalek voice, we don't really usually like hear much emotion from it, except for, you know, anger usually.
Anger and hatred, right?
Yeah, but that the way that the voice actor delivered that "So am I" was so good.
Nicholas Briggs.
Yeah, he knocked it out of the park. But even earlier in the episode, I did notice when the doctor was basically telling the Dalek, like, no, the Time Lords are dead, the Daleks are dead, they've all been destroyed. And the Dalek says, "So I am alone." And there's like, you see it's like eye kind of droop down, and I don't know, I think even before Rose touched the Dalek, there was still some feeling to it even then.
Yeah, I mean it's just like the doctor. I mean, I know he's more of a human than the Dalek. Well, whatever you want to say about that.
Right.
But I like you're the last of your kind. Finding it, like, imagine okay, I hate to make the comparison, but come on, it's obvious the Daleks were based off of the Nazis.
Yeah, there's definitely some like Nazi Nazi ideology in the way the doctors do, or not the doctor, in the way I'm sorry, doctor, in the way the Daleks do things.
Right. So it's like just think like a Nazi, like just like some of the Nazis, like they didn't have a choice in all of it. They were soldiers. They were forced to do the things they didn't want to do. It was a matter of their lives and their families' lives if they did it or not. Like, sure, there was some of them that chose to do it, but I'm sure there were some deserters, you know, some that chose to walk away from it because they didn't agree with the ideology.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing of like, I've heard it said before that, like, you know, something about like a quiet German is a good Nazi, or I'm not exactly sure what the quote was, but basically like the people who chose to kind of do nothing to oppose the Nazis, but like were still kind of, you know, in that way supporting them.
Right, because they chose not to fight against it.
Yeah, the all it takes for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing. Yeah, and I think, you know, we can kind of see some of that same thing with the Daleks, although like the difference with the Daleks is that they're literally bred to
mutated, engineered.
Engineered to hate, whereas, you know, with like the Nazis, it was like these were human beings, like that were making these horrible, doing these horrible things, and like not because they were, you know, literally bred to do so, but because they had, you know, subscribed to this horrible ideology that this was for the greater good in some way. And yeah, there's like actual historians that can speak of Nazis a lot better than I could. So,
yeah, what's a graphic designer know about Nazis?
You know,
except how to draw them.
I don't draw a whole lot of Nazis. I will say, but
yeah, and as an actor, I've not played a whole lot of Nazis either.
Yeah,
actually, I don't think I've ever played a Nazi. Well, I haven't been in The Sound of Music, so
that'd be I guess a good opportunity to play a Nazi.
Reminds me of The Pacifier with
Vin I was just thinking of that, yeah. Which, like, if you're playing in The Sound of Music and you're playing a Nazi, maybe like wait till you're inside the theater to put on your swastika badges. Like, you know, maybe don't take it home with you and keep it in your drawer.
Right.
Leave it in the dressing room.
Especially these days.
Yeah. Now that we have like Nazis back again.
Yeah. Okay. Back to more technical things. Doctor Who titles. Sometimes I'm just not a fan of them because they can be spoilers.
Yeah, I
like
feel
for this one, like I can understand like for newcomers that don't know what Daleks are, but you've definitely got people from Classic Who watching this and being like, "Oh, it's a Dalek. Why the mystery? It's obviously a Dalek. You just said in the title sequence, it's a Dalek."
Yeah, I feel like because they set it up as this really like shocking reveal moment, which would have been a really good reveal if they hadn't literally told in the title. Because up until we see the Dalek, we see that glowing eye in the darkness, and we see those lights flash and hear the voice. Like, we don't know what it is. There's this mystery surrounding what this thing is that this guy has locked up in his basement, and it would have been such a good reveal, especially for Classic Who fans.
And like that's another thing. Like I can understand for some things because there's always a trend for Dalek episodes to be titled blah 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 of the Daleks. Like you've got Classic Who episode. I'm not going to name any of the new ones because that's spoilers, but I'm sure people don't really care about the Classic Who spoilers quite as much. You've got episodes called like Power of the Daleks, that Power of the Daleks, Remembrance of the Daleks. It's always been a trend for Doctor Who to do something like that with Dalek episodes. And so like you're like, well, I know it's a Dalek because of the trend.
Yeah. Yeah, but if they had just called it, if they had called it something else, I don't know what exactly, because it's tough, right? Because Dalek is such a good title.
It really is.
For an episode like this. Like, I get it. I get why they called it that.
I do too, but it's not. I'm not just talking about this episode, but other episodes.
Yeah,
where it's complete spoilers. And like,
I don't know. I do think, and if they had named it something different and kind of kept that a surprise, then we could have had a really nice dramatic reveal.
And like, we got another mention of Bad Wolf. We'll learn more about that later.
Wolf reference.
Also, just the Doctor's face when he's talking to the Dalek, not knowing it's a Dalek yet.
Yeah.
But just as soon as he hears the voice, there's just pure amounts of fear on his face.
Yeah, again, some great acting from Eccleston in this
definitely
this episode. He really nails it with the really emotional moments, the really dramatic moments. We see so much fury and anger from the Doctor, and so many complicated mixed emotions. And Eccleston just knocks it out of the park. I also really enjoyed the villain for this episode, Van Statten. I mean, I know the Doctor, I know the Dalek was the villain, sort of. I guess in a way the Doctor was also a bit of a villain, but
he was his own villain.
Yeah, he was a villain to himself. But Van Statten was great. He was very believable. I mean, he was,
definitely. In today's day and age, 100%.
Oh yeah, like he was the type of, I liked the little reference to him being like the owner of the internet. But yeah, just sort of this big, like, powerful man who kind of feels like he owns everything and can do whatever he wants, and that lives aren't really important. What's important is what he has and what belongs to him. So, I mean, obviously, in this episode, he was played a little bit over the top, but I don't know. It was very believable, very a villain, very grounded in like someone you would see in the real world.
And also, the Doctor telling the Dalek that he destroyed both the Time Lords and the Daleks. I'm mainly talking about the Daleks right now because like he tells them he destroyed them. Like you can see the emotion on his face. He still regretted it because this is the Doctor we're talking about. Like you see emotions of regret on his face, but then it crookedly turns into a smile of, "Oh, you crying for help? Help me."
Yeah,
his change of emotions in this episode, just from go left to right in such great manners.
And it's not super often we see the Doctor as someone who mocks the enemy. I mean, we've seen him mock Mickey several times, which Mickey deserves better, but that's beside the point. But we don't often see him like in a position where he's just kind of mocking the enemy and saying like, "Oh, you poor thing. This must be so hard for you."
Right.
Which, in this situation, really, the Dalek is the one that the Doctor can kind of relate to the most, which
he hates.
Yeah, he has to hate it, right? He has to hate that, of all the people in the universe, the Dalek is the one who can understand where he's coming from the most. It's got to be infuriating.
Oh, I bet.
I think we see a lot of that too.
And also just when the Doctor says the word exterminate and turns on the electrical field.
Yeah.
Shivers.
And when the Dalek's like, "You would make a good Dalek."
Yep.
Another great line from the Dalek is when he says, "Why do we survive?" Oof. Like, again, that energy of the Dalek really understanding the Doctor and kind of vice versa. Yeah, I think we see a lot of. I don't know. It's almost the theme of the episode is just the loneliness that both of them feel, and
right.
The way that, in a way, their humanity has been taken away, and I think we see almost a reverse arc between the Dalek and the Doctor. We see the Dalek becoming more human as the episode progresses, and the Doctor becoming less human, and it's Rose Tyler, the most human there, who has to look the Doctor in the eye and say, "No, this isn't right. This isn't what we're about."
Yeah, and whenever the Doctor has a gun, it gets scary.
Yeah, I always get nervous when the Doctor has a gun, because it's never going to be a happy ending.
No.
Yeah.
Also, I guess Mickey just doesn't exist anymore.
Rose just kind of flirts with everybody, doesn't she?
Yes.
I don't.
And that part we can't even blame on Adam. As much as we hate Adam.
As much as I don't like Adam, it's not his fault that like Rose starts flirting back. Because Adam doesn't know that Mickey exists, right? Like
right.
Adam...
No, he has no idea. It's like the one time I flirted with someone and they're like, "Oh, I have a boyfriend." I'm like, "Oh." Like, it's the most awkward thing you can ever experience.
Yeah, it's even more awkward that Rose just doesn't even say anything. She doesn't say,
right.
"Oh, by the way,
I have a boyfriend.
His name is the Doctor." Oh, and also Mickey's there too, I guess.
It's true. Okay, this might be a little controversial. I'm not a fan of the vaporizing effect when a Dalek kills someone.
Oh, when it like shows through their skin to like the skeleton?
I've seen it done better a couple times, but generally I'm not a fan of the effect.
it feels like one of those things that maybe was like an effect left over from classic Who that they kind of just kept.
It is.
And it doesn't super well translate to like more contemporary special effects. I think it's fine in this episode, but especially later on, we see it continue to be used, and even though the special effects are getting better, it doesn't translate very well to
like
better special effects.
Even the most recent Dalek story, you know which one I'm talking about. I don't want to talk about that yet because we're not in spoiler section, but I was really hoping with the latest Dalek episode that it would be a lot better, and it just wasn't. In fact, part of it I thought was a little worse. Like there was some of it that looked good, but one in particular just looked really bad.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's fun when everything is sort of cheesy and campy, but when you have more like serious episodes and more, you know, more contemporary special effects, it just doesn't mesh very well.
Right. And again, Doctor Who's never been political. It wasn't political until a woman became the Doctor. Or do I mean Nurse Who? Mm.
Oh, this episode's so political.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, people, are we watching the same thing?
Like, from Van Staten, from just like the Nazi vibes of the Daleks, everything is just very, very political.
Oh, extremely.
Yeah.
Also, can we just pretend Adam never enters the TARDIS at the end of the episode?
I was just hoping they would be like, okay, bye, Adam, see ya, and close the door and just zap away and leave him standing there, but alas.
That's all my non-spoilers. I don't know about you.
I've got a couple more notes as far as like...
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
Really nice visuals. So there was a very Matrix-y moment when the Dalek is like stopping the bullets, which I just thought was really fun. I guess this would have been around the time that the Matrix was really popular. So
yeah, well, I'm pretty sure the Matrix had just ended. I've not seen the Matrix yet, but just from my knowledge of films and everything, I'm pretty sure the Matrix had already ended.
Yeah, definitely like post Matrix though, when you know the really famous like bullet stopping scene was a big deal. And there was a nice little homage to that. I thought it was fun. And then I really liked the shot when they're sort of in one of like the warehouse rooms and all the guards are sort of set up waiting for the Dalek, and the Dalek rolls into the room, and they all start firing upon it, and it just starts like lifting up into the air amongst this, you know, hail of gunfire.
Right.
I thought that was a really cool visual. And it was really clever the way it set off the sprinklers and used the water from the sprinklers to like electrocute everyone at once. That was just a neat trick, I guess, which I don't want to attribute a Dalek with pulling a neat trick, but it's better than a barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll.
Or spinning, that's what it's called. Let's try spinning. That's a neat trick. But yeah, it was cool.
Okay, my last I actually do have one more non-spoiler. It's from Classic Who. Remembrance of the Daleks. Literally the cliffhanger to one of the... It's a 4-parter. And literally one of the cliffhangers to one of the episodes was a Dalek going upstairs.
Yeah.
It's like... It's just... I don't know. I was just reminded of it with the Dalek going up the stairs. And I'm like, gosh, that was a cliffhanger once.
Which I feel like Doctor Who has done several cliffhangers like that, where you suddenly learn that a enemy can do a thing that you didn't know it could do before, but it's usually a little more dramatic than, oh, now it can do stairs.
Okay. My first spoiler warning. Sorry. My first spoiler is the Doctor saying, not by choice. that he destroyed the Time Lords, and that it just plays on well into the 50th anniversary with what you talked about earlier about when we were watching the episode. You didn't say it in the podcast, of how the Doctor was choosing not by choice, him surviving not by choice.
Yeah.
Because he planned on dying from it.
Yeah.
But the conscious of the moment said, that's your punishment. You live.
The Doctor being the Doctor, I think the worst thing he could imagine is living with his worst mistakes, which I think we see that all throughout all of the Doctors. They
all of New Who.
Yeah, all of New Who. The Doctors, they have to kind of live with their worst mistakes, the things they've done to their companions, the things that happen in the Time War, and even things that happen in a particular scene or a particular season. That's kind of the weight that the Doctor bears, is being the one who can make the hard choices and also being the only one who can or will in a lot of situations. We see the Doctor put in a lot of situations where they're the only person who could make that choice.
What's your first spoiler note?
Yeah, so I really appreciate the threat of the Dalek in this episode. I feel like as New Who goes along, with each iteration of the Daleks, they become less and less of a threat.
Yep.
As we start with one Dalek in this episode, and I'm not sure exactly when the next Dalek
Bad Wolf.
Okay. But eventually we see episodes where there's entire armies of Daleks.
And the series finale of this season is literally, I think they said, about 500,000 Daleks.
Yeah, and it's so weird that they go from one Dalek being able to wipe out an entire, a small army, to encountering 500,000 Daleks.
Right, which that's taking from Alien and Aliens. Like the first one, you have one alien, and then the second one, you have a multitude.
Yeah, and I don't know, when there's 500,000 of them, it seems like each one is way less of a threat on their own.
Right.
What we see in this episode.
Right, because there for a while, I was not intimidated at all by the Daleks, but then when Resolution came out, I legit was a bit terrified of the Dalek.
Yeah, I really appreciated about Resolution that it was another episode similar to this, where we see just one Dalek on its own wreaking a whole lot of mayhem. That's that to me is kind of my favorite way of seeing the Daleks, is just seeing how dangerous one or a couple are on their own.
Right, which is honestly the only thing I give the Series 3 Dalek episodes. Daleks in Manhattan and the evolution of the Daleks. I mean, there's the pig people, but there's a handful of Daleks. There's only a handful.
Yeah, and I feel like this is also a problem that Star Wars has encountered several times, particularly with the Jedi. It's like, once we get to
the prequels,
Attack of the Clones, and there's hundreds of Jedi, and we see them fighting and we see them dying, it almost becomes like the Jedi on their own are a lot less powerful.
Right.
Whereas, in the original trilogy, and even in a Phantom Menace, we just see a few Jedi, and just on their own, they tend to be a lot more.
Right, and there's only two Jedi that really do anything. Sure, we see the Council of we see the Jedi Council, but the only Jedi that actually do any actions are Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Yeah, and I think, just like the Jedi, it's a lot more interesting to me to see just a couple Daleks and see what they'll do on their own. When you have an army of them, I don't know, it's a lot less. It's a lot less interesting.
Then I can go ahead and tell you, you're probably not going to like the next Doctor Who special because it's going to be a Dalek army.
I mean, I don't hate episodes like that. They're a lot less exciting to me.
Although it is going to be an interesting take because it's called Revolution of the Daleks. So it's basically, there's going to be a Dalek civil war.
Yeah.
Which will be interesting.
Yeah, as long as it's not just like another Dalek invasion, because I really enjoy Dalek episodes that are not about a Dalek invasion. Like one of my, or probably not one of my favorites, is probably lower on the list, but an episode I really enjoy is what's the one with the Dalek prison?
Asylum of the Daleks.
Asylum of the Daleks. I really enjoy that one. It's definitely a different side of the Daleks that we don't normally see.
Right.
And there's not a whole lot of them, but they're all intimidating in their own way, especially
because they're insane.
Yeah, when you have what the Daleks would consider too dangerous to be unleashed upon society, then that adds almost an extra layer of threat to them.
Right. Okay. My next spoiler note is the fact that this Dalek is being mutated and it starts becoming a hybrid.
Yeah.
Which brings me to Heaven Sent. The end where the Doctor's like, nothing's half Dalek. The Daleks would never allow it. I'm like, dude, we've seen it multiple times. You've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
We've got this scenario. We've got the evolution of the Daleks where they turn a gangster into a Dalek man. And then we've got Clara who becomes a Dalek. We've seen it.
I guess the Doctor just kind of forgot.
Yeah, not yet. Because he does forget Clara. Not yet. No. It doesn't happen until the next episode. No. But no. That's my biggest gripe about that season as a whole, Series 9, is because it's like, nothing's half Dalek. I'm like, yes, there is. We've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
And even at the beginning of the season, we see the Doctor use some of his regeneration energy on Davros, and it regenerates all the Daleks, and they become half Dalek, half Time Lord. Yeah. Exactly what the prophecy says. And the Doctor's like, nah, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Yeah, I guess the writers just forgot about that.
Moffat forgot about it.
Moffat kind of forgot about the thing that he wrote earlier.
Yep.
Which, I don't know, I feel like that happens on occasion with Moffat. Also, this is the first time we really see the rage of the Doctor within New Who. And I definitely think this is one of the bigger examples of that. But yeah, this is the first time we see it this strongly, and we're going to see it a lot more later. Just the things that make... I always enjoy the moments where you see the Doctor really angry, because you know you've messed up when you make the Doctor really angry.
Oh yeah, seriously.
Yeah. But we'll see that, and we'll talk about it when it happens. But I just want to make note of it that this is the first really angry Doctor moment we see. To this level. I mean, he's been angry a couple times through the season, but this is the first
biggie, right? Yeah. That's all the notes I have. What about you?
That's it for me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because we're running around 38 minutes so far.
Yeah, I figured we'd probably go a little longer on this episode.
Yeah.
Just because it's really good, and I don't know, there's a lot I like about it.
Yeah, and I had some other notes, but they're not really necessary, so I just ignored them.
Yeah, same. All right. Well, what is next time?
Next time is The Long Game.